On a cold, overcast morning across the Windsor estate, a private royal security checkpoint, positioned near the southern entrance of Windsor Lodge, received a confidential operational memorandum that threatened to disturb the already delicate balance inside the British monarchy. The directive, printed on official stationery from Queen Camilla's administrative office, contained a startling instruction. All family members without authorization, including minor royals, were to be denied entry unless they had received written clearance from the Queen's private secretary. Within 48 hours, that severe new policy would reportedly be applied to an 8-year-old child. Prince Louis, accompanied by his trusted protection officer and nanny, approached the tree-lined private road, leading from Adelaide Cottage toward the historic gardens of Windsor Lodge, a place where the Wales children had spent countless moments since they were very young. Yet when the small group reached the imposing iron gates, the security team suddenly stopped. The guard stepped forward awkwardly, bowed his head in embarrassment, and explained to Louis' protection officer that under new residential procedures, introduced by Queen Camilla's household, the young prince was not included on the approved daily access list. He could not enter the grounds. When Louis returned home and innocently asked his parents why he was suddenly forbidden from walking through his grandfather's gardens, the mood inside Adelaide Cottage reportedly changed instantly. Prince William did not shout. He did not rush to make a public accusation. Instead, he ordered an immediate private investigation into the administration and control of Windsor Lodge, what William and Catherine allegedly uncovered within the following 48 hours. Was much more serious than a simple disagreement involving a child. Their investigation appeared to reveal a broader attempt by Camilla's inner circle to exercise exclusive control over the historic residence, redirect royal funds toward private alterations, and remove valuable family heirlooms connected to the late Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Diana, including items reportedly intended for Prince Louis. Before we enter the dramatic confrontation that allegedly followed, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe young Prince Louis deserves protection from palace politics and that Princess Diana's memory should always remain respected within the royal family, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Crown Watch with notifications enabled. Your support allows us to continue bringing you detailed and dramatic royal stories. To understand how Windsor Lodge allegedly became the center of a major royal dispute, we need to look at the quiet developments that had reportedly, after the coronation, Windsor Lodge had reportedly been made available to Queen Camilla as a temporary country retreat while wider royal property arrangements were considered. But rather than treating the residence as a family asset, shared according to established arrangements, Camilla's office allegedly began operating as though King Charles had granted her permanent and unrestricted control of the property. Without consulting senior estate officials or the Prince of Wales, a series of expensive renovation projects reportedly began. Long-serving household attendants, gardeners, and security employees who had worked around the estate for years were allegedly reassigned, dismissed, or replaced by outside contractors connected to Camilla's private household. Rooms traditionally made available to visiting members of the family were reportedly transformed into private suites for Camilla's associates. Historic furniture, portraits of former sovereigns, and delicate royal tapestries were quietly taken away from prominent areas. In their place appeared contemporary decorations that dramatically changed the character of the residence and removed much of its connection to earlier generations of the royal family. When experienced estate managers reportedly questioned the sudden changes, they were allegedly met with a blunt response from a senior member of Camilla's office. Windsor Lodge now operates according to the personal discretion of Her Majesty the Queen. Previous household arrangements no longer apply. Staff members, understandably reluctant to challenge the wife of the reigning monarch, reportedly remained quiet. That silence created the impression that Camilla's household possessed unlimited authority over the residence. According to the story, that assumption eventually produced the decision that would bring the entire arrangement crashing down. The first serious warning did not reportedly come from an official financial audit. It came from Princess Catherine's careful observation. Catherine, who had frequently attempted to maintain harmony between different branches of the royal family, noticed that several historic belongings associated with Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Diana were no longer displayed in their usual locations inside the main reception gallery. Among the missing objects were silver-framed family photographs connected to Diana's early years at Highgrove, an old leather desk blotter once used by Queen Elizabeth, and a specially commissioned silver christening bowl, reportedly connected to Diana and intended for her youngest grandson, Prince Louis. Catherine initially made a private and polite request for an explanation concerning the missing belongings. The response, attributed to Camilla, was reportedly cold and dismissive. Catherine was allegedly told that her attention should remain focused on Adelaide Cottage, and that the administration of a senior royal residence was not her responsibility. Rather than responding emotionally, Catherine reportedly began examining the matter quietly. She ordered a detailed review of storage records, transport documentation, contractor invoices, and access logs connected with Windsor Lodge over the previous 6 months. Within days, according to the account, a longtime member of the lodge's custodial staff approached her confidentially. The employee was reportedly disturbed by the treatment of Princey Louis and concerned about the removal of historical belongings. The staff member allegedly provided Catherine with a transport document that changed the entire investigation. The manifest appeared to show that several sealed wooden crates containing protected royal items had been classified as surplus furnishings and scheduled for transfer to a commercial storage facility outside London. At the bottom of the document was reportedly a crate containing Diana's silver christening collection associated with Louis, a red stamp on the shipping. Paperwork allegedly carried the instruction: permanent archival removal, no public display. Catherine reportedly collected every relevant document she could locate, including cancelled visitor passes, security records showing Louis had been denied entry, contractor invoices, renovation paperwork, and transportation manifests. She assembled everything into a detailed legal dossier and placed it directly on Prince William's desk. When William studied the material, his reaction was reportedly not one of uncontrolled anger. Instead, he became quiet, focused, and extremely determined. William understood the constitutional and administrative structure surrounding royal property better than most members of the family. He knew that Camilla's authority ultimately depended on established arrangements and the assumption that no one would challenge decisions made in her household. But he also understood that royal residences were governed by more than personal preferences. William reportedly called senior property advisors and legal specialists for an emergency review. He demanded that original property documents, occupancy arrangements, and historic covenants relating to Windsor Lodge be examined immediately. For hours, the legal team reportedly searched through decades of royal property records. Then, shortly after 2 a.m., an archivist allegedly located a crucial document identified in the story as the 1999 Windsor Estate Conditional Occupancy Covenant. According to the account, its language was unmistakable. Windsor Lodge was allegedly classified as a protected family heritage property, with occupancy subject to several strict conditions. The first reportedly required reasonable access for direct heirs and their immediate descendants. The second allegedly prevented the removal of historic family heirlooms or sovereign trust assets without appropriate written authorization from the Prince of Wales. The third allegedly stated that unilateral restrictions placed against direct heirs, combined with unauthorized use of sovereign maintenance resources for private alterations, could trigger termination of occupancy rights. If those provisions were genuine and applicable, the security order excluding Prince Louis could have created a serious legal problem for Camilla's household. The alleged removal of Diana's belongings and the reported spending on private renovations would have added further complications. William therefore believed he had enough evidence to challenge Camilla's continued control of the property. The following morning, at approximately 10 a.m., Prince William reportedly arrived at Windsor Lodge without advance notice. There were no television cameras, no waiting press team, and no large group of courtiers accompanying him. Under his arm were Catherine's compiled dossier and the certified property documents. William entered through the main doors and walked past visibly surprised members of Camilla's private office before proceeding toward the morning drawing room. Inside, Queen Camilla was reportedly reviewing renovation plans with an interior designer. When William entered, the designer allegedly bowed and quickly left the room, leaving the two royals alone. Camilla reportedly looked toward him with surprise and demanded an explanation for his unexpected arrival. She allegedly insisted that Windsor Lodge was not an open residence for members of William's household and questioned why he believed he could interfere with her arrangements. William reportedly placed the thick dossier on the table between them. His message was direct. He allegedly told Camilla that her private staff arrangements had to be dismantled and that she would eventually be required to leave the residence. Camilla reportedly reacted with disbelief. She allegedly argued that King Charles had granted her use of the lodge and claimed William had no constitutional authority to dictate how her household operated. William then reportedly removed a single document from the file. It was the security instruction that had allegedly resulted in Louis being denied access to the gardens. William reportedly confronted her directly over the decision to keep his 8-year-old son away from a place connected to the family. He allegedly reminded Camilla that Louis was not an ordinary visitor, but a member of the royal family and a future generation of the monarchy. Camilla reportedly attempted to explain that the security measure had been introduced to protect privacy during official preparations and was never intended as a personal insult toward Louis. William, according to the story, rejected that explanation. He then reportedly produced the transport manifest showing the crates containing historical belongings connected to Diana. His accusation was that Camilla's office had attempted to remove his mother's possessions from the residence without proper authorization. William allegedly told her that the combination of restricting Louis's access and moving Diana's heirlooms had crossed a line that he would no longer tolerate. Camilla reportedly defended herself by insisting that the decisions had been administrative rather than personal. But William allegedly responded that the consequences were no longer negotiable. He reportedly informed her that the relevant property provisions had been violated and that her occupancy rights were being terminated. The confrontation reportedly became the moment when Camilla realized that the dispute was no longer simply a family disagreement. It had become an administrative and legal challenge supported by documents. Camilla allegedly threatened to take the matter directly to King Charles and demand his intervention. William reportedly remained calm. He allegedly told her that she was free to speak to the king, but that the evidence would be placed before him as well. According to the story, William warned that the security order, contractor records, renovation invoices, and transportation documents could eventually become public if the dispute escalated. At that point, Camilla reportedly understood that continuing the confrontation could create an even larger crisis for the monarchy. Within several hours, the story claims that a formal notice concerning occupancy and asset recovery was delivered to the appropriate royal offices. The alleged terms were strict: renovation and construction activity that had not received proper approval was to stop immediately. Members of Camilla's private administrative and security teams were reportedly ordered to surrender their access credentials within 72 hours. Her personal belongings were to be removed within a specified period, while any restrictions preventing William, Catherine, or their children from accessing the property were to be cancelled. By the afternoon, Windsor Lodge had reportedly entered a state of controlled retreat. Moving vehicles appeared near the service courtyard while inventory officials began documenting the contents of rooms and storage areas. The purpose, according to the story, was to ensure that Camilla's personal possessions could be removed without accidentally taking items belonging to the royal collection or family trust. The sealed crates reportedly stored in the cellar were opened under careful supervision. Diana's silver christening bowl, family photographs, historic portraits, and personal furnishings associated with Queen Elizabeth were allegedly identified and returned to their previous locations. Each item was reportedly inspected before being restored to the residence. Over the following weeks, Camilla's belongings were gradually removed from Windsor Lodge. On the final day of the alleged departure, a private convoy reportedly left through the estate gates without ceremony, public announcement, or royal fanfare. The heavy iron gates closed behind the vehicles, marking what the story portrayed as the end of Camilla's controversial period of control over the residence. The following weekend, the atmosphere at Windsor Lodge was described as completely different. The private security barriers were gone. The tense atmosphere had disappeared. The staff, who had reportedly been caught between competing households, could once again focus on maintaining the historic property. And on the lawns outside the residence, 8-year-old Prince Louis was reportedly seen walking with his parents. He ran through the gardens with the family dog, passing the same gates where he had allegedly been turned away only weeks earlier. William and Catherine watched from the terrace, quietly observing their son enjoy a place that had once been associated with generations of their family. According to the story, the dispute had ultimately become about much more than one residence. It represented a struggle over who would control the royal family's heritage, how historical possessions would be protected, and whether the next generation of royals could be treated as outsiders within their own family's properties. William's alleged decision to confront the issue directly was portrayed as a warning that the future king would not remain silent when his children or his mother's legacy were involved. The era of quiet palace maneuvering, private administrative battles, and hidden disputes over royal heritage appeared, at least in this dramatic account, to have reached a decisive turning point. William had drawn a firm boundary around his family and made it clear that anyone attempting to marginalize his children or erase Princess Diana's connection to the royal family's history would face determined resistance. What do you think about Prince William reportedly taking such a strong position to protect young Prince Louis and preserve Princess Diana's legacy? Do you believe William and Catherine handled the alleged Windsor Lodge crisis with the strength and dignity expected of future monarchs? Share your opinion in the comments below. Press the like button if you support Prince Louis and Princess Diana's legacy, and subscribe to Crown Watch for more dramatic royal investigations.